Because sometimes,
Yeah. So maybe I'll find it to post on the Facebook side and please put it on there. So it'd be interesting to see what happens myself. I'll get back into figure out some stuff.
that's nice actually. So we can turn it into, so we can look at. It's a really good point because then what we can say is we're looking at not just what the right journaling. It's like why we're writing journal, why we are writing the journal, and what the benefits are from that. Fantastic, excellent. So we're live on. We're just talking about our challenge of reflections and journaling. So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, then you can join that AIM challenge if you would like to do that. I'll pop the link down at the bottom of the video after this session. The other thing, just before we start, and in case I forget at the end of the session, is that on next Wednesday, the 25th, Elaine will be joining us again for just to catch up on the 2022 challenge. So we started that at the beginning of the year, walking, running, walking to the supermarket, just measuring the distance to see whether we can do 2,000, that's right, isn't it? 2,022 kilometers over 2022. So Elaine will be joining. That'll be 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. It's the same link for the Breathe Balance Movers on the Zoom link. Right, let's do some movement now. So find your comfortable space. Taking your feet about shoulder width apart. Let's start off with spinal cord breathing. So bending the knees, you're going into about a 1/12 of a squat. Breathing in, opening up. It's like waking up in the morning. Breath in, tuck the pelvis, bring the elbows together, breath out. Breath in, and breath out. Breath in. Going at your own comfortable pace. And what I'd just like to explore a little bit more today is, I don't know if anybody listened to the Michael Mosley podcast about eccentric exercise. And I had a client who came along the other day and going, oh, this is really interesting stuff. Can we explore a little bit of eccentric exercise? And then when I showed that actually a lot of what we're doing anyway, even in the Qigong, is eccentric exercise. So we'll just play around a little bit more with that today. In all of the stuff that we've done. Just going at your own comfortable pace. On the next in-breath, just rotate to one side, breathe in to one side, and then breathe out back down to center. And then just go from side to side. Nice and slow, easy, light breathing. And then after the next out breath, just come back up center. So just normal in and out through the center. Couple more. Giving yourself now a moment just to balance. Shake the shoulders out a little bit if you need to. Lengthen up the spine. Finding your balance. Stepping back out, let's do knocking. So using the ground. Softness in the knees, spiraling through the legs, through the knees, through the hips, to power the rotation of the spine, lifting and lengthening the spine. Visualize extending the spine before you rotate it, so lifting and rotating. Bring awareness to any clunky bits, any bits where it feels as if it's sticking a little bit. And just bring attention to those spaces. And maybe just breathe a little bit fuller into those spaces. And then full breath in and slow it down into water waves. So really into that slow motion, that little bit of resistance. And take a moment. Check in with your balance, standing balance. Dog wags the tail. So get the spine, get the hips moving first. Keep the shoulders over the hips. So you're using the ground. So hips glide, pelvis goes to the side, shoulders stay on top of the pelvis. So I'm not doing this, I'm not dropping the hip side to side like this. Really get that movement going first, and then let the spine wave on top. So you get in that lateral side to side flexion. And it may just catch your breath. I got a really nice crack then down my spine in a good way. And again, you can maybe feel that bit of air trapped in the windpipe a little bit. I can sometimes feel, I remember some of you saying that when we do this movement. Again, don't overdo it. The head is on the top. It's the last bit that waves. And slow it down. Slow it down, come to standing. It amazes me every day, when you do these every day, you always feel, or you tend to feel very different things. A little bit stiffer in one area maybe. You might find a little bit more release in another area. It's different every day, and it's really nice just to sense what's going on in the body rather than just do an exercise for the sake of doing an exercise. Okay, let's do a little bit of spiral, a little bit of balance, and then we'll go into some tiger and some of that eccentric contraction that I was talking about. Big hip circles, so just pop your hands on your hips for this one. Let's do some big hip circles. Going in one direction. Let's change direction. Let's do a bit of a leg swing, so just free up that swinging hip. Keep tall on this, keep supported and balanced on that standing leg. It's the strength of that standing leg. Keep that standing leg straight but not locked. Really free up that opposite hip. Great for getting that hip mobility. This is definitely one that you should do every day, even if you just do it for a couple of seconds again. Let's get into the habit. And then shake out. Let's do a little bit of spiral. So popping one hand on the hip, the other hand holding up the teacup. So we're following the hip, so we just do the big hip circles that we've just done, but that arm and that upper body follow. Here you open up, overhead, back to start. Nice smooth movement. Let's do one more this way. It's like unwinding the body. And swap sides when you're ready. Hips lead, center leads. Couple more. Nice. And then let's have a good shake. So you can tap the heels into the ground. Let the shoulders go. Really feel the spine moving, bringing the wrists if you want to bring in the wrists. Just as little or as much as you want. Shake it out and then stand. Feel the tingling sensations. Just open up the shoulders a little bit, open up the chest a little bit. Let's do the tiger. So find the space where you're comfortable, feet about shoulder width apart, a little bit of turnout in the feet usually. Now when we're making sure that those knees glide over the toes, that they're not dropping in or out, we can play around with that, but for now we want to make sure that we're nice and aligned. We've most probably got the same turnout at the feet. This, when you use a little bit of tension in the fingers, there you feel that engagement in the back. So it's a really good way of keeping the back and the spine strong. So that's why we're using that tension in the fingers. Slowly down. And if you get to here and that's enough, that's fine. You can come back up. It's just about following the breath and going to a comfortable depth. It's not about foot pushing, forcing. If you find any pain in the knee or in the hips, then you just go to that place before you get anywhere near pain. At the top, you stand tall. Always stand tall at the top. Tall and big, and then hips go back. And the breathing is light and it's soft. Shouldn't hear anything. Maybe just a few creaks or clicks. Standing tall at the top. Good, that should feel comfortable. Take a rest there. So if we're looking at making that a bit more of a stronger eccentric exercise, just to explain a little bit what eccentric means. If you are, say I'm doing some work on my biceps, an easy muscle to show and explain, is when I contract that muscle, so you're doing a bicep curl or something like that, if you were using a weight, that is called concentric. So you're strengthening the muscle by contracting, or you're creating adaptation by contracting. Eccentric just means the opposite, but it's not like, oh, there's an eccentric exercise. You're extending the muscle under load. So say if you had a weight, you can, or you don't even need a weight, you can do it, you can squeeze the muscle and then just do that really, really slowly to extend the muscle. So there's the work of eccentric contraction, so eccentric exercise. So we've already done that with our squat when we did the one squat challenge. So if we go down into the tiger, just go down and then really, really slowly. So come up slowly, push through the heels, and you can squeeze the muscles. You can squeeze the legs, squeeze the glutes. Make sure you don't hold the breath. Keep breathing. Push through, really take your time. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then come up to standing. So you can see you can really, really, almost like, I think we've mentioned it before, where you are squeezing energy, if you like, from the muscles into the bones. And if you think about any time you walk or any time you run, the power doesn't come from concentric, which is when you land, that's where you load the power, that's where you absorb the energy. The power comes from lengthening as you step forwards or as you run forwards. So eccentric contraction is really, really beneficial. And I think I might have got this wrong because I didn't read the study fully, but they'd done a study on people walking up the stairs and then walking down the stairs, and the control was use a lift to go up and walk down, or walk up and use the lift to come down. And the group that had done coming down the stairs actually increased their cardiovascular exercise and actually improved. I think it was quite a big percentage. I might be totally wrong on this, but I think it was somewhere like 40%. Do not quote me on that because I need to check that out. But it was showing that there was an improvement by a lot of this eccentric exercise over concentric exercise. And I think a lot of that has to do with, from a cardiovascular point of view, it's easier. So you can breathe easier when you're doing that. So you don't have to feel as if you're doing loads and loads of exercise. You don't have to push yourself too much. Let's do that again. So slow tiger down. And then really squeeze. So really push the heels into the ground. Squeeze the muscles. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. But keep breathing. Make sure you're not tensing too much. You're squeezing the muscles, but keeping that breath steady, squeezing the muscles. You're not straining. I don't want strain like this. Come up to standing. And go again. Slowly down. See how slow you can make it. Squeeze the muscles. Keep the face relaxed. Just squeeze those leg muscles. Squeeze the glutes. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Come up to full standing. It's going to be fun running after this one this morning. And back down. You only need a couple of these. Let's do one more. Squeeze. Heels into the ground. Squeeze the glutes. And come up to standing. Good. Shaking out the legs. Take a little bit of a rest there. Now we can also do that, and we're doing it to a certain extent, in some of the Qigong flows. So let's look at Buddha. Buddha holds up the earth. So let's just do it as we usually do. So balance, breath in, breath out. Breath in. Breath out. It's nice and easy. Let's do one more. And take a rest. And what we can do to make it a little bit more of an eccentric exercise, so a little bit more energy, if you like, a little bit more strength to it. And again, I think we touched on this before, is that exercise, the movement is called Buddha holds up the earth. So if you are physically holding up the earth, it's going to be a really heavy object. So you're not just going to go, oh, there's the earth above my head. So just have that visualization of when you come to that point where you are almost going to catch the earth underneath there, you can really squeeze the arms just as you were squeezing the leg muscles as you were coming up out of that tiger. So breath in and squeeze, squeeze, Squeeze. So you can make that a little bit stronger as you hold up the earth. And then breath out. But I really emphasize that we're not straining. So I'm not going, "Ugh." It's almost like just see if you can really identify the muscles that you need to squeeze. Where do I need to be strong? But where can I be soft? I can breathe easy. Be strong through the arms, strong through the back. And then I can soften. Couple more. Breath in. Strong, holding up that heavy object. Breath out, soft. Let go and relax a little bit. If you think of the wood element of the tree sways in the wind, where you need that strength, but you also need softness and flexibility, that balance. Let's do one more. A heavy object, so squeeze. A little bit more strength and then softness. And then let's just finish off. Pulling down the heavens, just nice and easy. Breath in. Breath out. Crossing the hands, bringing the feet together. Just giving yourself that moment just to tune in with how your body just naturally wants to find its own balance by rocking and swaying. And when you're ready, just taking a slightly fuller breath in, and at the top of that breath, opening your eyes. If you had your eyes closed, stepping out, maybe having a little stretch, a little brush down. Excellent. So have a listen to that podcast if you get a chance. And I will share in the AIM challenges that Andrew Huberman podcast again. I can't remember if we've shared it in there or not, but I will share that again. And for anybody else who wants to join the challenge, if you're not joining the challenge, then you can join the AIM Challenges Facebook group. We're looking at reflections for our challenge this month. And also, as I said at the beginning, if anybody's doing the 2022 kilometer challenge, then Elaine will be doing a special catch up on Zoom next week for that Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. But if not, I will see you. I'll see you Tuesday anyway. First, have a fantastic weekend. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye. Thank you. Yes. And bye. Yeah.
Are you going to be doing Scotland?
That's